One of the most difficult aspects of being a violinist is the understanding of how to organize practice time. A typical session will consist primarily of technique and repertoire. Technique is an umbrella term whose fundamental components are scales and arpeggios, basic right and left hand techniques, as well as etudes and caprices. For many, daily attention to each technical component can be time-consuming to the point of overwhelming. Consequently, adequate focus on technique is often either abridged or neglected by both teachers and students. Understanding of the primary goals of the various components will help a student find a proper balance between technique and repertoire. Attention to technique in some form is an obvious necessity in learning to play any musical instrument, and there exists a large variety of approaches to technical study. Some teachers, like Dorothy DeLay, recommend equal attention to each of the aforementioned technical components with the intention of isolating their students' focus on a particular aspect of playing. Conversely, others prefer to limit technical study simply to that which is present in a student's repertoire. For example, in a 2014 article from the Strad, violinist James Ennis asked, in reference to a Paganini concerto, "What good is it going to do me to practice an etude of double harmonics when I can just practice the piece with the double stop harmonics in it?" In most cases, his repertoire will cover all the scales, arpeggios, chords, and other technical components that need to be practiced. Why do violinists find it necessary to practice scales every day? What do we hope to achieve from constant repetition of the same patterns? Carl Flesch claims that scales are beneficial to both intonation, facility, and familiarity with all 24 keys. Ivan Galamian utilized scales in his teaching as a way to strengthen the connection between the mind and fingers through a systematic presentation of puzzles. Interestingly enough, although their approaches seem to differ greatly, Dorothy DeLay, like James Ennis, recommends extracting passage work from repertoire and applying it to scale study. This could involve isolating a challenging passage involving the left hand, or applying a particular bowing pattern or technique to a scale. For example, if a student is struggling with up or down bow staccato in a particular piece of music, this bowing can be applied to a scale with awareness of the left hand but primary attention given to the bow. However, even the material covered in the study of scales and arpeggios can be overwhelming. Although he recommends focusing on just one key every day, it is unlikely that the average violinist could, in one practice session, effectively cover each component that Flesch applies to all scales, like scales and arpeggios on one string, scales in 3 octaves, and double stop scales in thirds, sixths, octaves, and tenths. In the revised edition of Flesch's scale book, his student, Max Rostal, suggests a rotating practice routine in which only a select few components relevant to a student's needs are addressed on any given day. While violinists like James Ennis have proven that the quality of their playing is not determined by practicing scales, they can still be a useful tool in technical study. How they are used is what determines their value. Are scales nothing more than a warm-up, or are they meant to isolate a specific right or left-hand technique? What matters most in practicing scales is defining their purpose,